Versatile Mage. Chapter 696. Slaying the Mountain Zombie. Bang! A huge blast took place on the clock tower. The magnificent building almost collapsed from the force as Mo-Fan, who had just slammed into it, kicked off it and shot out of the inner city like a brilliant ray of light, returning to the battlefield within the blink of an eye. The light shocked the mountain zombie. It was utterly relieved after getting rid of an annoying pest, yet to its surprise, the demon had returned in just a few seconds. What kind of body was that? A normal human would have died many times over by now, yet the guy was still charging toward it like he was unharmed. Cry of the Snow Mistress. Icy Rain of the Sorrowful World. President Han-Ji finished channeling the third-tier super ice spell under the protection of the other experts. In the sky, the icy clouds combined into the glamorous figure of a sacred goddess. Her sorrowful tears turned into the most incredible, piercingly cold snowstorm of the past 100 years. The air was frozen, the vast land was frozen, all living things were frozen. The icy rain covered a great distance. Most of it landed on the mountain zombie, which swiftly turned into a layer of ice covering its body. The icy rain fell, and the snow stacked up into a mountain. The savage mountain zombie seemed to be suppressed by the icy rain of the sorrowful world. Its movement gradually turned stiff as more and more of its body was covered in ice. The clouds were frozen, the air was frozen, the ground was frozen. The mountain zombie standing tall was frozen too. The process did not last for long. Under the throat, destroy its undead crystal. President Han-Ji raised his pale face. His hair was white like snow, yet he still gathered his strength to say those words to Mo-Fan, who was flying back to the battlefield. Mo-Fan swept through the sky. The flames trailing him spread into an ocean of fire. He glanced at the frozen mountain zombie. He could tell that the creature was raising its arms, trying to protect the area under its throat, yet it was frozen by President Han-Ji in the process. Cry of the Snow Mistress. Icy Rain of the Sorrowful World. As expected of the man with the strongest cultivation among them, he had managed to suppress the mountain zombie at such a crucial moment. The mountain zombie was breaking into pieces. Cracks began to surface on the ice. Mo-Fan knew it was his perfect chance. The flames engulfing him turned into purple-black lightning. Die! Mo-Fan turned into a weapon covered in raging flames, a soul shadow, lightning, and runes as he pierced through the wound under the mountain zombie's throat. A formidable blood energy rose inside the mountain zombie's body, shattering the ice covering its body with brute force. However, the moment it broke free from the ice, the destructive light ray mixed with 4 different colors that Mo-Fan had turned into pierced it right below the mountain zombie's throat. Its throat was already exposed after the attacks earlier. This time, it could no longer defend itself from the new attack that Mo-Fan had executed with all his might. Mo-Fan simply flew from the front of the mountain zombie to the back. After a brief moment of darkness, he exited from the back of the creature's neck together with a jet of blood under the light of dawn. The mountain zombie was trying to defend its weak point before it was frozen. After breaking free from the ice, it subconsciously grabbed its throat with its hands, yet it was completely useless. It was holding the front of its throat, yet fresh blood was jetting out from the back of its neck. As soon as Mo-Fan landed on the ground, the rain of blood poured down from above and put out the flames and lightning engulfing him. The mountain zombie was swaying wildly. When the group thought it was about to collapse to the ground, the creature picked up a corpse official and squeezed it into the hole on its throat. The spray of blood was stopped instantly. The mountain zombie seemed to have earned its second chance at life. It knocked the people around it away with the blood energy and fled north. It's not dead yet. Han-Ji, the mysterious man, Zhu Meng, and the others inhaled deeply. They were completely worn out from the battle, yet the mountain zombie was still alive after suffering such a deadly blow. The magicians suddenly felt extremely decrepit. It's running away. We have to kill it, yelled Zhu Meng. Mo-Fan dodged the mountain zombie's stomps. When he saw that the creature was fleeing to the north, he immediately switched the soul shadow on his back and chased after it by sprinting across the ground. The Flame Bell Soul Shadow had granted Mo Fan the ability to control fire, while the Wolf Soul Shadow gave him strong close combat capabilities. Mo Fan was incredibly fast. He was sprinting through the ocean of undead like a werewolf. The undead army trying to stop him simply became his stepping stones. Mo Fan kicked the head of a flesh-mound corpse official with great force and launched himself into the air, lunging at the mountain zombie that was running away. The mountain zombie was fleeing, yet the ocean of undead was still around. The cunning creature would surely command the undead army to continue the assault on the city. The mountain zombie had to die. In addition to Mo Fan, Councilman Zhu Meng, the mysterious man, Du Xiao, and Han Ji also chased after the mountain zombie. The mountain zombie was indeed severely injured, but the death of an undead like the mountain zombie at its level was an obscure concept. If they did not kill it thoroughly, it would recover in no time and come back again. Han Ji coughed heavily before saying to the group, "Kill it." Zhu Meng, the mysterious man, and Du Xiao nodded. Mo Fan did not carelessly venture forward when he saw the others chasing after the mountain zombie. He gathered the strength of the Wolf Soul Shadow in his legs and kicked forward, launching a fast-moving shockwave in the shape of a black crescent at the mountain zombie. Zhu Meng did not hesitate further. The man, whose energy was close to depletion, simply took out his lightning spear. It emitted a blinding glow and flew in right behind Mo Fan's black crescent. The mysterious man and Du Xiao both cast a super light spell. It was the same enormous light sword that came down from the sky. This time, the mountain zombie had nowhere to run. The destructive spells flew toward the mountain zombie simultaneously, leaving it with no escape. Its eyes were filled with a grim light. Suddenly, heaven and earth shook vigorously. A strange hole appeared behind the mountain zombie that was running away. It was like a black hole able to suck in any kind of force. Mo Fan's black crescent, Zhu Meng's lightning spear, and the demon judgment sword were all being pulled into it. Hole of chaos. Han Ji was stunned. The others were dispirited too. All their attacks were sucked away by the hole of chaos that had appeared out of nowhere. They were so close to killing the mountain zombie. Such a terrifying strength. It just drew all our attacks away like that. The mysterious man's eyes flickered with astonishment. There's someone on the mountain zombie. Mo Fan's sharp eyes immediately fixed on the mountain zombie's head. Chapter N. Versatile Mage. Chapter 697. The Falling Tide of Undead. Careful, the whole of chaos might reflect our attacks with a stronger force. The mysterious man warned the group. We should be careful of the man standing on the mountain zombie. His aura. Han Ji lifted his gaze and stared at the man. As Han Ji mentioned, everyone here was an expert with sharp senses, and the man who had nullified all their attacks with a single spell had a formidable and mysterious aura, putting them on alert. They could sense danger from him. Mo Fan was the closest to the mountain zombie. He was standing on top of a signal tower, the bottom of which was destroyed. It was just tall enough for him to be at the same height as the man on the mountain zombie. The mountain zombie was no longer running. The all-powerful zombie seemed afraid of the man. Its body slowly knelt down with its head lowered. The group was completely dumbfounded upon seeing this, making the mountain zombie drop to its knees. Who could be strong enough to force the mountain zombie, one of the strongest ruler-level creatures, to kneel? No wonder even an expert like Han Ji was panicking. The mountain zombie turned around and carried the man toward the group. It seemed extremely willing to be the man's mount. As the creature approached them, the dim dawn light and the rain pouring onto it highlighted the outline of a man wearing a black battle robe. His aura was piercingly cold and stern. He glanced at the group of magicians before looking at the inner city with a swaying golden barrier in the distance. Ancient king. The mysterious man shuddered. His gaze suddenly turned blank. Even Han Ji was stunned. In the ancient drawings, the ancient king was indeed depicted wearing a black battle robe when he passed away. The man's outfit perfectly resembled the emperor of the past. On top of that, even though he was glancing down at the living humans, he did not have any living presence. He's awakened, Zhu Meng said in a dispirited voice. The ancient king was awake. It was the end for everything. All living creatures would be turned into undead. The city that had survived over thousands of years would soon become an undead paradise. The mountain zombie came forward. The creature did not dare to unleash its previous overwhelming aura. It was not because of the severe injury under its throat, but it did not dare to act recklessly because of the man standing on it. Its feet stomped the ground heavily as it walked past the signal tower that Mo Fan was standing on, allowing Mo Fan to see the man's face clearly. He did not just see the side of his face. The man turned his head and stared right into Mo Fan's eyes. Chief Military Instructor. Mo Fan shivered. He could not believe what he saw. Zan Kong. The face was none other than the Chief Military Instructor, Zan Kong. Mo Fan felt his heart crumbling. He could not explain the scene before him. Zan Kong was staring at Mo Fan, tall in his battle robe. It was hard to tell if he had recognized Mo Fan, or if he was simply amused by Mo Fan's extraordinary demon presence. Suddenly, the man raised his hand. The whole of chaos that had absorbed everyone's attacks appeared in front of Mo Fan. Mo Fan subconsciously thought the man was going to attack him. His figure tensed as he prepared to defend himself. However, the whole of chaos did not spit out the destructive energy it had absorbed. It opened up like an eerie door of space. 3 figures were pushed out from the spinning vortex. Lu Ru, Zhang Xiaoho, Su Xiaoluo. Mo Fan instantly recognized the 3 people. He leapt forward, grabbing 2 of them with his hands and biting Zhang Xiaohu's collar with his teeth. Using the mountain zombie's shoulder as a stepping stone, Mo Fan jumped back to the signal tower while holding the 3 people. The 3 youngsters had fallen unconscious while passing through the chaos vortex. Mo Fan placed them on the tower and shifted his gaze back to the man. However, Zan Kong, who seemed like a totally different person, no longer made eye contact with Mo Fan. He turned around, only showing his back to the group. As he turned, the mountain zombie also turned and walked in the opposite direction of the city, as if given some order. Thud, thud. Each step the mountain zombie took produced a huge blast. On top of that, a troop among the undead army sank into the ground every time it stepped. The undead in the city north were the first to withdraw. Most of the undead army had the ability to move underground. The ocean of undead disappeared into the ground in just a few minutes. Judging from the pattern, it seemed the entire undead army was moving into the distance following the mountain zombie, or more accurately, following the man standing atop it. The footsteps sounded further away with each step. Half of the undead were gone. The spectacular withdrawal even postponed the arrival of dawn as their mass had covered the rising sun in the distance. A while later, a phantom ruler appeared in the south. The phantom ruler seemed like it had yet to fully enjoy itself. It opened its enormous wings, similar to those of a bat, and beat them, gliding across the golden barrier and heading north. An army of phantoms followed right behind the phantom ruler like stormy clouds. When they flew past the inner city above the golden barrier, the entire inner city was immersed in darkness. A few moments later, the clouds formed by countless phantoms had flown into the distance, returning the dim sunlight to the countless people in the city, many of whom had fainted from fright. Finally, the army of skeletons withdrew like a fading tide as well. Of the 8 undead rulers, 4, including the mountain zombie, were still alive and led their armies into the distance. Not a single one dared to stay or threaten the inner city, even though the golden barrier could collapse at any second. The black ocean gradually disappeared into the north. The ruined city was illuminated by sunlight that was gradually turning brighter, exposing the collapsed buildings, destroyed streets, broken bridges, and areas beyond recognition. Only the inner city was preserved, along with countless people and its intact buildings and structures that had survived the calamity. However, it felt like everyone was completely worn out. Even after the inner city was soaked in sunlight for quite some time, the whole place was still deadly quiet. It took the people a long time before they realized the calamity was over. Chapter N. Versatile Mage. Chapter 698. The most admired person. We're alive. We're still alive. They're gone, the undead, not a single one left. We've won, we've won. The city was suddenly immersed in cheers. The dawnlight was fairly bright, but the grey clouds and rain remained. Yet none of it mattered now. As long as the undead army was gone, the city would be safe. They had all survived the calamity. The magicians on the wall fell to the ground feebly. The calamity had drained all their energy. They had prepared to sacrifice their lives in battle, yet they never thought they would actually survive and witness the undead tide falling away. It was unbelievable. Even they found it hard to believe what they had seen. It felt like the tide brought by a great storm was about to devour them, and it was obvious that the rain would continue to fall. But the black tide suddenly receded. The water level quickly dropped to their feet and withdrew from the little island they were on. Many people lay on the ground, looking up into the sky. The raindrops that fell on their faces felt warm, as they could not extinguish the excitement and joy in their hearts. The people hugged one another. Cries of relief after surviving the calamity echoed in the city, regardless of whether they knew each other. The magicians outside the city were returning. Some stood still on the spacious ground covered in debris. It took them a while to collect their thoughts. Mo Fan was still standing on the slanting signal tower. His eyes were staring north. The runes covering his body had disappeared. His silver hair returned to black. The wild lightning and fire were withdrawn deep into his soul. The fight had ended, and it was time for the demon deep in his soul to go back to sleep. Otherwise, the young man would age rapidly. Where are we? Zhang Xiaohe was the first to wake up, shaking his dizzy head heavily. He immediately saw Mo Fan sitting on the edge of the signal tower. His face was filled with joy. He ran up and hugged him, at a loss for words. Mo Fan had yet to recover from the cold bloodiness of the demon element, but when he saw Zhang Xiaohe burst into tears like his younger brother, he could not help but pat him on the head. After some time, Zhang Xiaohe finally calmed down. Seeing Mo Fan still staring north, he asked, "Did you see him? He was always looking after us, right?" asked Mo Fan. There were still many things they could not explain about the calamity, as it felt like someone had been opposing the Black Vatican behind the scenes too. However, Mo Fan did not have the chance to see him until the very last moment. He has always been looking after us, Zhang Xiaohe said, glancing at the city that was immersed in cheers and at the people surrounding Han Ji, Zhu Meng, Du Xiao, and the mysterious man as they returned to the city. The truth was, Han Ji, Zhu Meng, Du Xiao, and the mysterious man had never seen Zan Kong before, so they did not recognize him. "Is he considered dead?" asked Mo Fan. The moment Zan Kong turned around, Mo Fan suddenly felt the air around him turn sour. Even his throat felt stuck. He could not find the words, even though there were so many things he wanted to say. Mo Fan could easily guess what had happened at the altar without Zhang Xiaohu's explanation. But was he really gone like that? Was the man he respected most still alive? Was that the ancient king, or Zan Kong? For some reason, Mo Fan's thoughts were filled with the past. He remembered the extremely difficult missions that the chief military instructor had given them during training. He remembered how Zan Kong shamelessly tried to become Mo Fan's sworn brother at the Mu family's villa. He remembered the scene he would never forget, when Zan Kong led his subordinates to fight the Darkwing Wolf. During the incident at Jilin City, he had traveled a great distance to save him too. He was their instructor during training, but more like a mentor on the path of becoming a magician. He had not taught him a single spell, but he had used his actions to teach him how to become a reliable man. The good thing is, we didn't let him down in this battle against the Black Vatican, Mo Fan sighed, slowly withdrawing his gaze. Zhang Xiaohe nodded heavily. They were chief military instructor Zan Kong's students, and they always would be. The city might have no clue who had driven the undead army away, but they would forever remember him. Meanwhile, the Black Vatican had carefully planned their conspiracy, yet they never expected that the commander of Bow City, whom they had completely disregarded, would be the one disrupting their festival. Test run. The unforgivable sin the Black Vatican had committed in Bow City had trained people like Mo Fan, Zhang Xiaoho, Zhu Zhaoting, and Zhan Kong, who would give all they had to fight against the Black Vatican, even if it meant sacrificing their lives. The Black Vatican had brought fear and death to the world, yet to those who had survived the calamities, all they had sown was an inextinguishable fury in their hearts. A little Bow City had already trained so many people, let alone the ancient capital, which had existed for thousands of years. Many brave survivors would step forward. The wild ambition of the Black Vatican to bring chaos upon the world would not stand a chance against the determination of the people who wanted to eradicate the evil organization. The seeds had been planted, watered with the sad tears of those who had lost their loved ones. They would surely blossom one day. On the clock tower, Great Deacon Hu Jin still could not believe what had just happened as he hung there in the rain. The whole city was celebrating, but he looked worse than a dead man. The festival was gone, implying he would no longer be sent to paradise. His soul would fall into the burning pot together with the dark beast monsters and become an ugly slave for the rest of his life. Tar, tar, it was the sound of heels hitting the concrete. The clock tower was now empty. He did not dare breathe when she heard the footsteps. However, it seemed like two people were walking up the stairs. "Why did you call me here?" said a woman. "I believe there's no one here. I thought we were both going to die. Either way, there's something I have wanted to tell you for a long time. About 10 years ago, when we first met here, you were still a hunter master. I know I'm not worthy of you. I'm still an ordinary imperial magician after 10 years, but for the past 10 years, you've always been the most perfect woman in my heart," said a man. "Is that all you have to say?" The woman's voice sounded rather cold. "Yeah, I'm not hoping you would accept me, but I still wanted to tell you my feelings," said the man firmly. "Normally, I would accept everyone willing to submit to me, but unfortunately, you've spoken this nonsense to me when I'm in my worst mood. I won't accept your feelings, but I don't mind accepting your heart," said the woman. "What did you say?" "Ah." The man's voice turned into a painful scream in the middle of her words. The clock tower suddenly fell silent. Not a single sound could be heard. Chapter N. Versatile Mage. Chapter 699. Mo Fan, the Precious Gem. He was hanging at the same spot, his face completely twisted. Not long after, he heard the sound of heels tapping on the bricks, each step like a sharp blade stabbing his heart as they came closer. Senior Salon. He wanted to kneel, but he was unable to do so. The woman's right hand was dripping with blood, holding a fresh human heart. It was extremely horrifying. She lifted her cold gaze, staring at Great Deacon Hu Jin hanging before her. He felt as if her gaze had simply shattered his soul. "You helped that kid to enroll in a magic school." Yes, no. He was at a loss for words. "You've brought up such a monstrous enemy for our Vatican, who even ruined my festival. I should be thankful to you." "No, don't. Please don't. No." "Ah." An utterly forlorn cry echoed from the ancient clock tower, like someone's soul was being torn into pieces. The cry lingered in the air. Meanwhile, the people below the clock tower were cheering and celebrating. It looked like a fairly exciting festival was happening. When the tide of undead fell away, backup and support finally arrived. Countless helicopters circled the sky, bringing supplies to the city. Construction crews came in bulk and started rebuilding. However, to prevent the undead from attacking again, they first built temporary places within 3 kilometers of the city walls to settle the people. The rain finally stopped on the 3rd day. The survivors were settled in the temporary buildings enclosed by tall walls, making them look at least somewhat safe. Unlike Bow City, this city had coexisted with the undead for a long time. It was rich with resources and had existed for thousands of years. Even the greatest storm had failed to destroy it. The city would only be rebuilt after it was torn down, as most people were unwilling to abandon their property. The reconstruction did not take as long as expected since half of the rebuilding was done by machinery, while builders handled the bridges, roads, streets, and buildings. Each building required only a few earth magicians. The areas within 3 kilometers of the inner city were rebuilt first. From there, expansion would slowly continue. As long as the heart was still there, the ancient capital would slowly rejuvenate. Humans were not as fragile as they seemed. Despite the sorrow they had endured, those who survived still had to keep moving forward. The meeting room in the bell tower. Some fruit that had just been brought to the city was placed on the meeting table. They looked juicy, probably sent via air transport from the south. Not many people were seated at the table, but they included Du Xiao, Zhu Meng, Han Ji, the mysterious man, and Yao Nan. I've looked everywhere, but I still can't find Mo Fan, said the mysterious man. The guy doesn't seem like someone who would leave his name behind after doing a good deed, teased Zhu Meng. It's all thanks to him. Who would have thought the demon element? Tusk, he must be the only person who can support it. I've called you all here to discuss what we're going to do with Mo Fan, said Han Ji. The demon element is banned by the magic associations of the 5 continents. I've asked Mo Fan. He doesn't want to be the white mouse, so we'll try our best to conceal the truth, Zhu Meng expressed. A superior from the military contacted me. He told me that demon Mo Fan was the Deathbringer of Dongting Lake, who once caused great chaos in B City, said the mysterious man. Which superior? Asked Zhu Meng immediately. Must be the one in charge of the southern military district. He told us it's best not to let the magic associations of the 5 continents know about Mo Fan, said the mysterious man. Mo Fan wants us to keep it a secret, and the military and the magic association have no intention to make it public either. But regarding the Hunter Union, Du Xiao, can you stop Chu Jia and the others from spreading it? Asked Zhu Meng. Du Xiao shook his head. He was a senior hunter, but the elders were higher ranked than him. He had no way of sealing their mouths. Don't worry about the Hunter Union. Some old man must know about it, and Mo Fan is working in his shop. With his help, the information won't spread where it's not supposed to, said Yao Nan. I almost forgot about that. Yao Nan, I'll let you contact the Kliski Hunter Agency, said Du Xiao. All right, the military, Hunter Union, and Magic Association should be able to keep it a secret. After all, only a few of us have seen him using the demon element. We should be fine. As for Mo Fan's friends, they won't have any problem keeping it a secret either, Han Ji nodded. By the way, Salin must have learned about the demon element too. Will he possibly? Blurted out the mysterious man as a thought crossed his mind. Salin must be trying his best to leave our country now. He was too exposed this time. The Enforcement Union will be uprooting all his remaining underlings. The highest ranks of the Enforcement Union are going to hunt him down. Do you think he has time to waste on Mo Fan? Han Ji smiled. That guy tried to destroy the ancient capital by relying on the ancient king's kingdom of undead to crown himself god of death. I bet he's running away like a dog now. Once we find all the blue deacons and uproot those hiding, in half a month, Salin will just be a general without an army. By the way, Mo Fan is truly the Black Vatican's nemesis. They failed to acquire the underground Holy Spring from Bo City because of him, and at Magic City, they still tried to steal it but lost everything. This time, Mo Fan has disrupted their festival too, giving us the chance to remove the Black Vatican's influence in the country. Splendid. Zhu Meng burst out laughing. Yeah, the kid is our secret weapon against the Black Vatican. His demon element is already impressive at his current level. Once his cultivation improves further, he can infiltrate the Black Vatican's main headquarters and erase them from the world. Said the mysterious man excitedly. The Black Vatican was basically the world's biggest malignant tumor. Many people would burst into tears the day it was finally removed. Then we should take good care of this gem, Hanji smiled. Should we provide assistance so that it's easier for him to grow? No, that's not smart. If we help him, his cultivation might stop at the advanced level. I believe you all know that we didn't reach our level by living like princes, nor is it because we were under outstanding protection. Du Xiao immediately disagreed. The people at the meeting had enough resources to train Mo Fan into an expert, yet it would only spoil him. Mo Fan was a gem that had grown in the wild. They should just let him be. Every strong magician had walked the path on their own. But we can't just leave him without keeping an eye on him. Hanji was not so carefree. I have a good idea, Zhu Meng laughed. Chapter End. Versatile Mage. Chapter 700. Secluded cultivation in Mount Hua. Over 130 kilometers away from the ancient capital, a steep mountain stood tall with a formidable aura. People could feel great pressure standing at its foot. The areas in the south were densely populated, with many mountains connected by relatively flat ranges. In comparison, the mountains here were towering and steep, giving the area a completely different atmosphere. The calamity of the ancient capital did not spread to Mount Hua. The only inconvenience was that the cable car had stopped operating. Mo Fan had wondered if the famous 5 sacred mountains of Taoism were crawling with demon creatures in this world, but it turned out they were still popular sightseeing attractions. Apart from a small number of workers, Mo Fan basically had all of Mount Hua to himself. It did not matter that the cable car was not working. Mo Fan's swift Star Wolf was outstanding at climbing mountains and crossing ridges. The creature could sprint at full speed even when both sides of the path consisted of steep cliffs. It was extremely thrilling. The paths on the mountains were narrow, with limited footholds, and perfectly straight cliffs leading to bottomless abysses on both sides. Whenever the wind swept past, it felt like they could fall off at any second. The swift Star Wolf seemed to enjoy the thrill of sprinting along the cliffs. He leapt from the steps straight to the top of a ridge the size of a table. Standing above the clouds, he scanned the surroundings. Green vines and pine trees dangled from the mountain walls. As the swift Star Wolf landed on the peak, pieces of rock dropped from the cliff into an endless fall. A perfect place to cultivate and become an immortal, Mo Fan said, lifting his gaze and discovering a temple among the steep cliffs. As he thought, his cultivation had declined after using the power of the demon element. Almost every element had dropped a level, leaving Mo Fan with tearless sobs. He had deranked twice in the intermediate level. Luckily, he had collected an enormous supply of soul remnants and soul essences when annihilating the undead army. The demon that had granted him power had come to demand souls from him. These soul remnants and soul essences were all given as sacrifices. At least he did not end up like a caveman as he had at Dongting Lake, killing mindlessly while living in the wild. To explain it scientifically, it was simply returning what he had borrowed. The enormous power Mo Fan obtained after breaking through to the advanced level was like a huge loan from a bank. He was still obligated to pay it back after spending it all. Therefore, the soul remnants and soul essences collected by the little loach pendant from the undead were used to repay the loan. It was impossible to rely on the demon element to save soul essences. Luckily, there were countless undead to kill. Otherwise, he would have had to live like a caveman for a while to pay the loan, or the demon bank would take away his lifespan as a penalty. Mo Fan was well prepared this time, so the side effects were not as troublesome, although he was about to go crazy after learning his cultivation had deteriorated again. Hanji had granted Mo Fan some resources so he could recover his cultivation as quickly as possible. Hence, Mo Fan was sent to Mount Hua to focus on his training without distractions. If he was diligent, it would not take long to get his cultivation back. The only fortunate thing was that his fire galaxy was still there. It did not degrade back into the fire nebula despite his rank drop. However, the fire galaxy looked extremely dim, like a pool of dead water. Hanji told Mo Fan it was still possible to recover the advanced fire galaxy. With time and cultivation, to prevent falling back to the intermediate level, Mo Fan decided to go all out to recover his cultivation. Ling, little flame bell lay on Mo Fan's head, enjoying the spectacular scenery. She had not forgotten the dreadful experience in the space of death. As such, she had expressed her determination to work harder and become a good daughter capable of defeating all the bad guys for her daddy. Mo Fan chuckled at her solemn vow. He suddenly recalled the fiery sorceress soul shadow he had seen when he demonized and felt great anticipation. He could not wait to see Little Flame Bell's formidable power at the adult phase. Let's work hard together. Woo! Swift Star Wolf cleared his throat and howled, reminding the two of his presence. His loud call echoed among the steep cliffs of Mount Hua. After Mo Fan went into seclusion, the ancient capital finished reconstructing. For thousands of years, undead would roam outside the ancient capital at night. Only magicians strong enough could venture out. But after the calamity, not a single undead was seen within a few hundred kilometers of the city. It was not that the undead had disappeared completely. They simply stayed in their catacombs and tombs, obediently remaining indoors. Many factions were greatly astounded. In the past, the undead of the ancient capital had behaved well and stayed in their territory. After a certain dynasty, they started leaving their area to infringe on human lands. Now, they were being restricted. The resurrection of the ancient king was supposed to be a disaster. Yet, surprisingly, it seemed the undead were now under his control, forced to abide by his rules. It was definitely good news for the ancient capital. The place was famous because of the undead, but if they were completely wiped out, many businesses relying on them would collapse, harming the economy. If the undead went out of control, the city would be in grave danger. As long as the order was maintained, with humans and undead in their respective areas, perfect balance and real peace would prevail. After all, with undead around, the demon creatures of the Qinling Mountains would not dare infiltrate human lands. The ancient capital returned to its bustling life. Time flowed faster when life was busier. Spring came after the snowy season. The ancient capital was restored to its initial appearance before the new year. The lives that were lost were remembered with an empty wine cup. The people moved forward to celebrate a hard-earned new year. Such a pity, Mo Fan is still training hard in the temple on Mount Hua in the snow. I bet he won't leave until he recovers his cultivation. Let's use this empty cup to represent him. Everyone, cheers, said Wang Sanpang with high spirits. Haha, I never expected to spend my new year here. Either way, it's great to be alive, said Zhang Xiaoho. Yeah, how lucky are we to survive two great calamities, agreed Zhao Kunsen. Let's give Mo Fan a toast. Come on, put Mo Fan's picture on your iPad and set it straight. That's right, let's send him our regards. Should we light up 3 incense sticks too? Put his photo on grayscale. Chapter end. Please guys like, comment, share, and subscribe.